Alright.
Hey guys, and welcome to another RogueHQ video podcast, name to be determined later. This is Skip McLazy, and as always, the person who does much better at technical things than I do, Ontario.
Oh, I disagree, but this is totally the first take of this.
Totally not doing this over again. I mean, that's the beauty, because this is recorded and we're in chat verifying that, yes, this was a one and only take, and will only be one take, ever. But yeah. So a little bit new format today. We're coming to you pre-recorded, and which means we're able to be in the chat with you. We can hopefully get a little bit more of the technical difficulties out of the way rather than fully live, which is kind of fun. But it's also been a little bit longer of a hiatus. I know it's been busy schedules and everything trying to get this one pulled together, but I'm very excited today. As you can see from the overlay and, well, probably from our title, today is all about Slay the Spire. And then we've got our special guest, ThatNintendoRobot, stopping by in just a little bit. That'll be fun.
Yeah, super excited to have that Nintendo Robot, and I know you're a huge Slay the Spire fan, and I know you've put a lot of hours into it, haven't you?
I have. It's actually a game that I've tried to speedrun until I realized that even the top speedrunners only complete about 2% of their runs, and I just don't have the patience for that, so I kind of went back to just doing the dailies and playing it casually, and every now and then putting a timer up and realizing that's a bad idea.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty RNG heavy from what I know, which is as like many roguelikes, especially with speedrunning, very RNG.
It is very RNG heavy, but unlike many others, like, you know, you think Enter the Gungeon's got a very big speedrunning community. Obviously, Binding of Isaac is a massive speedrunning community. Binding of Isaac, no matter what happens, I feel like, especially that one, you can still complete your run doing it quickly, most times. Of course, there'll be times when you skip over too many things you need to do it well. But Slay the Spire, the strategies you have to take to get through a run in like 4 minutes, which is the crazy fast time to get through a run, if you don't get the cards you need, you die. Like, it's just, there's no safety strats. The safety strats let you complete a run in about a half hour, but not anywhere close to the 4-minute record, which is crazy.
Yeah, that seems pretty quick.
Right.
Very bad.
Right. So if anyone's not familiar with the game itself, so Slay the Spire, as you can kind of see, is a card-based game. It is a turn-based attack strategy. You've got energy you can spend on your cards, which you're familiar with, like Hearthstone. Okay, using energy for my cards sounds very familiar. As you defeat enemies, you get new cards to add to your deck, and then also relics. You can see relics kind of up here on the screen above me in our background, and it's basically modifiers that then affect how the gameplay goes, and you want to collect more and better modifiers as you're going through the game in order to, you know, hopefully get through all 3 acts and defeat all 3 bosses and win and have a questionable ending where it says "Slay the Spire." Mystery voice is telling us to slay the spire. Exactly. Well, who would that be, possibly?
Have him make noises the whole thing. Just not even bring him on to.
Yeah, no, we have him on here just for voices in the background, not for. Perfect. So actually, have you spent much time playing the game, Ontario, or is this a new one to you?
It's a pretty new one to me. I haven't had a whole lot of time. I've obviously watched you play it a lot. I mean, kind of at first, I'm like, this is like Hearthstone with like actual kind of combat. That's kind of what it popped out to me as. But yeah, you know, kind of had the Hearthstone mechanic of kind of being a card-based dungeon crawler-esque thing, which is super interesting. It's kind of like a different take on like a Hearthstone.
Right. I guess one thing I appreciate about it as well, and this kind of fits into the Hearthstone thing as well, is that you have 3 different characters that you can choose to play as, and all 3 of them play significantly differently with how the types of cards they get, with how they build. You know, the default character that you get is Ironclad, and he's kind of your typical, just if you think of a melee guy just going in trying to kill the enemies as fast as possible, which is a great place to start. But then you get a guy called the Silence, or Silent, I believe. I could be corrected later. The Silent, yes. And he's more of like, he can do 2 different ways of playing. One is more like a poison build, where you're building like poison cards in order to try and do damage over time effects. and he also has other not necessarily relying on the poison, but just he takes more of a sort of defensive strategy to his play, which is more strategic attacking as opposed to more cloak and daggery, I suppose, than true defense. Then there's the defect, who is a completely different way of playing, where you have these orbs. You channel these orbs that then can attack or defend for you, give you more energy, and even how you play each of those is different. You can go and make a completely defensive defect build, or make a completely offensive defect build, or ignore the orbs altogether and go for things where it's assuming you're using the orbs, so it loses your ability to use the orbs. I'm doing a bad part of explaining this right now, but what I like is that every time you pick it up, you could say, hey, this time I want to play more of a, let's do a poison build today and see how that goes. And so there's variability even just with the characters and the cards that you have.
And then every run you have is different. I know that, where it's basically randomly generated each time you go in, so you really have a different experience every time you play that game, especially with how your build works out and what enemies you face, things like that, what card you get. So every run is like super, super different.
Right, absolutely. And it's one of those early release games as well. And so they're releasing so many patches and upgrades to it that it's actually been the bane, speaking of the speedrunning community, it's been the bane of their existence. They've tried to have seeded runs to try and normalize some of the RNG, but every time they patch every couple weeks, it screws up all the seeds. So they have to find new seeds for their seeded runs. It's a little bit frustrating, but at the same time, that's what you get for a early access game. It's definitely been evolving over time, and that's been fun to see that development.
You know how long it's been in early access? I'm not quite sure.
It released in about March or April of this year, so it's not been out for very long. When it first released, they actually did not have the defect character. He came out, I want to say a couple months afterwards, like early summertime. So there's definitely a lot of stuff they're continuing to add to it. They're trying to rebalance because there are some really overpowered strategies if you can get them, as I kind of explained before. So yeah, it's been kind of fun to see those changes over time.
Yeah, it's something that you can kind of build and grow with as it goes along. It's always fun to have a game begin that early and just watch it develop and grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And you hope that the developers don't just give up on it eventually, which
that's the one thing about early access. I know we've talked about this before on the podcast.
Oh yeah,
kind of our feelings of early access, but yeah, that's always kind of a danger.
I mean, I don't feel like this one's going to. It's had pretty steady viewership on Twitch. Whenever you see an early access game come out, you can always, of course, you see the spike right away once it first comes out, but then tends to trickle off. Anytime I go in, there's always people watching and playing the game, so I don't think it's one that's going to peter out, but I mean...
Yeah, it's really one, if that game can keep that community and keep that around, it's something that can support the game for a long time. So as long as we keep seeing that, good, but yeah, hopefully it doesn't drop off all of a sudden.
Right, I mean...
Does that end up going down the drain?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they got to get the full game out so they can start doing DLCs, I mean...
Yeah, gotta get more money.
Got to start having card packs and all that stuff that everyone hates about Hearthstone competitive play.
Yep.
Oh, I mean that's I know that we're not talking about Hearthstone, but it's since card-based games. I don't know. Did you ever play Hearthstone? Were you ever big?
I tried to play, and I was like, I don't know what's going on, and I kind of gave up on it. But I got the gist of it. I'm not a big WoW guy at all. I never really got into WoW or anything like that, so I didn't understand anything that was going on. I'm like, it's really cool, but everyone's way smarter, so I can't.
I got into it actually on my tablet for a while, and I spent a little bit of money, like $20 I think, on it, buying different story mode packs. But then I discovered really quickly, if I actually wanted to do the ranked PvP stuff, I have to be fully up on all the packs, keeping up with purchasing everything as soon as they came out, dumping significant amount of money into it. That was one thing that kind of drove me away. Is there was no I just have the game and no additional stuff. Can we still compete? The answer is really no, you can't. Sorry, you have to be up on everything in order to really compete in that one.
Yeah, that's why I hope Slay the Spire doesn't go that way.
Right.
And
well, I mean, right now it's not a PvP game right now.
That's true. It's not a PvP game, but hopefully it doesn't get ridden with DLC and card packs and stuff like that. I know people probably won't like that. I won't even like that. it just seems kind of.
Yeah, I agree. It would feel like it would cheapen the gameplay because it's the way it's designed right now and how they balanced it is so that you can make it through if you make the right choices with most seeds. And I'm sure there's a way to beat probably every seed as long as you're making the right choices. Some of them you don't know what you have to make before it's too late, but hey, you could have made the right choices. If you start entering in DLC card packs, how would you have to? I can't conceive of a way that you would be able to keep those balanced and still have the same type of gameplay. It feels like all it would be doing is giving you an advantage when you go in. Now you can win every time. That takes away part of the fun for me personally.
Oh, of course, yeah. I think it would for most.
Yeah, yeah. Well, cool. So I want to talk to our guest today because he's been in the background. You've been hearing him. He is a Slay the Spire player as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk to ThatNintendoRobot.
Hey!
Scott, how's it going? Welcome to the soon-to-be-named something differently RogueHQ VOD/podcast.
Oh, hey, well, it's fun to be in this nice temporary space. Thank you, Ontario. Thank you, Skip. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's an honor.
Absolutely. Thanks for agreeing to it and fit it into your schedule. I know you've got a lot going on right now that takes up your time and will be very soon. A lot happening.
Yes, that's great, though. It's a good thing to have to stay busy. I wish I could stream a little bit more, but probably sometime this week I'll definitely be beginning some streaming in before a quick trip to San Jose. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be there at the same time as TwitchCon, but I'm probably going to be streaming from the hotel room there.
While it's going on, may as well just do your own thing.
But no, yeah, I'm a big fan of Slay the Spire. I really am. I'm glad you guys are focusing in on it, and I love card games. I love turn-based games. I actually probably first saw it and thought, is this a Dominion clone? And I don't know if you guys are very familiar with the card game Dominion.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
But it's a deck builder where, kind of unlike Hearthstone, it isn't a plan my deck ahead of time and roll the dice to see what I get against other people's plan that they've spent their time doing. This is Dominion is a competitive multiplayer card game, but everyone starts off with the same, I believe it's 10 cards, and then you simply try to spend the money that you play on the marketplace of cards to build up your deck. And it is a very, very successful game for here in the United States. It's Rio Grande game that publishes Dominion.
Right.
And out came a clone a few years after it came out. Out came a clone of the game called Thunderstone. And Thunderstone, not to be confused with the thing that evolves Pokemon into Raichu, but Thunderstone was developed by AEG, and it was pretty much a Dominion clone, but was a dungeon crawler where you are playing magic and using swords and shields and arrows to defeat bad guys and raise your attack to a certain point. And that was fun, and they've actually developed much better versions of Hearthstone and Thunderstone.
Now we're all confused.
I know. This is Thunderstone. I have a copy of Thunderstone Quest back here somewhere that I can break out at some point. That's just this huge, massive box that's just so much fun to play, and it kind of has a campaign feel to it. So Thunderstone Quest is particularly good. Thunderstone Quest, also by AEG, and both of them, man. Slay the Spire feels very, very, very much inspired by. But Slay the Spire as a solo experience is superior to both of those games. There is some options to play the Thunderstone solo, but Slay the Spire is pretty genius in that, like you guys said, right now there were 2 characters, now there's 3, and they really feel like 3 distinct games. I would say even more so than Thunderstone and 9 games of their potential hero choices. Slay the Spire, it is a completely different experience, and I'm better at some characters than other in this game more than others.
So who's your go-to character in Slay the Spire?
Well, the defect now I'm best at, so that's really fun to play. But the strategy that I'm actually the worst at, but is the most fun for me to play, is the silent, where it's just about surviving, it's just about staying alive, and throwing on as much poison as absolutely possible, and getting all of the different poison powers to stack. Is just so rewarding to watch these massive bad guys just slowly poison and crumble and just melt into a pile of goo as if they're a wicked witch from the west. Is a lot of fun to experience. So that's really great. And the other big silent deck is the Shiv deck.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm trying to remember. What was the other card called? It was the Shiv. That's right.
Yeah, and that really is awesome.
I think I've gotten up to 4 Shivs in a single deck in a small deck, and that snowballs out of control so fast. It's hilarious.
It is, and since they're always free to play, and you can generate them all sorts of ways, getting different powers that gives you 1 every single turn, playing cards that give you 3 Shivs that turn, and then ways to upgrade the Shivs. It's pretty effective. It's pretty fun. Again, it's kind of about staying alive more with the silent than with the other 2, since its defense is generally pretty weak. But if you get to choose your deck, and you get to choose what's in your deck and what cards you're going to upgrade, and if you're going to upgrade. And there's a big risk assessment mechanic going on, especially when you get to those campfires, of course, where are you going to smith and do an upgrade, or are you going to rest? And when you start to win a few games and you get into the Ascension system, they give you a pretty good idea of what's OP in that Ascension run. So like, stay away from elites, or just be on the lookout that regular bad guys have twice the health or something like that. That is the big thing that really should dictate your play, what the Ascension rules are, so to speak. And other than that, you really get to experiment with that game. Throw out a lot of risk, of course. Are you going to go after the question mark rooms and versus what's known? But there is this RNG factor that goes right up against absolutely objective gameplay, where you can make a mistake and then you just kick yourself because, man, I killed the guys in the wrong order, or I almost killed them, but I didn't, and I didn't put up any blocks.
Did the math wrong. Yeah.
Did the math wrong. So the tension between the massive amount of RNG and any kind of relic that you could just fall yourself, that you could slip into great synergies or absolutely pointless relics, that tension goes right up against, this is a objective card game where it's numbers, and you can easily screw it up. And there's also lots of times where you have to just roll the dice with RNG. So it kind of has that what you want out of a dungeon crawl, even in D&D, where there's plenty of times where you feel like you have the choice, that you're completely in control, but then all of a sudden you're rolling dice all the time, and you're being reminded that even the best player is going to run into drama just at a drop of the hat. So I love the game, and I think the newest update made it look beautiful, and the music is fantastic. All the small details I think are really strong for a game that was developed from 2 people. 2 guys. It blows my mind just how indie this Superstar game actually is. So I'm amazed by that.
It is amazing to think about that. I mean, there's a lot of the really good games started out really small like that, and it's been amazing to see, how well some of these indie developers can do, for sure. I actually have a story about you know, if you think about the differences between just RNG, but then seeing something, having an idea and being able to play it out. I was not able to get this on video because I wasn't recording at the time. I was just playing casually, but I was playing as the Silent once, and I was building a Shiv deck, and I had probably 4 Shivs in the deck. No, I only had like 3. This wasn't my max. It was like 3. But I also had 2 of those All for One cards. Are you familiar with that? There was All or Nothing cards. All or Nothing.
All or Nothing.
Where basically you pay 3 energy, but you get to recall all of your 0 energy cards from your discard pile back into your hand.
Right.
And then I also stumbled upon that pit where you get 2 Madness cards. And the Madness cards says, okay, it's going to randomly transform 1 card in your hand right now to 0 energy.
For the rest of the battle.
For the rest of the battle.
Not just that turn. Yes.
Yep, for the rest of the battle. So I had this scheme, and I'm like, this could work out really well. Because I also had others. I had lots of 0 cost cards. I was a 0 cost card building that turn. So I went and used them, and then I had it happen during the boss battle pretty early on. I had, in my same hand, I had my all or nothing card. Whoa. And then I had my all or nothing card, and I also had my Madness card. So I played every other card, played my Madness card to change my all or nothing card into a 0 cost card. And then it happened again. So at one point, when it was maybe I had like 250 health left on the boss, I had 2 all or nothing cards with 0 cost. I had an infinite loop of attack because I could always recall all my cards back into my hand for free. And it just was like, I could have had a 9,000 HP boss and I would have won. It was the most glorious thing I'd ever done in the game, and it has never been repeated for me. And
you broke it.
I broke the game. I love it. Yeah. I love it.
And that's a game that you feel great about breaking, because there's just so many times that I know people who play it, and when they get to a boss they don't want, that they screwed something up on, that they think that they want another shot at, they'll hit Control 4 all the time, because loading it back up puts you at the front of that. I don't mean to game genie it for you, everybody, but
well, there you go.
You hit Control 4, and that just happens. I see it on streams that I'm watching.
People
all
just
the time.
Reload it.
Yeah, and it's a great game to watch, not only for, the salty, the salty tilts, but really for watching the strategy, watching all the different ways people can play it and enjoy it. And the main tension is that risk versus skill, but the other tension is the depth versus the simplicity too. There's really a lot going on with all of the cards. The idea that they could add more cards, or like you guys said, it's right for DLC. If they just said, hey, we're going to have another pack where there's 3 new characters, like 90% of players, I think, would buy that in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Even if it's even like a mutation or a slight deviation of one of the 3 characters. There's so much that you can do. I
think that would be a DLC that I would enjoy, would be a DLC for a new character. Like that to me, yeah. Or new boss packs.
And they said there's going to be more characters than these 3. Now, whether or not that happens while it's still in early development, we're not sure. I think the illusion was that they were alluding to that with the full version of the game, there'll be more of everything, and more characters.
Cool.
So,
very cool.
I'm loving it. And as someone who I love indie games in general, but I generally like them much more polished than maybe the average indie gamer. This really has me hooked, line and sinker for sure.
It has some nice polish on it, and I'm with you as well. I like indie games, but I do like the indie game to look like a real game, not like a game where it's. I didn't really have time to make it look like the character was walking, so you have to kind of. It's like just. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
If it's not polished, there better be something else that makes it really special.
Right.
So,
Scott, NintendoRobot.
Yes.
We had you hop in, and you just hopped right into Slay the Spire. We don't know who you are.
I'm so sorry. How rude of me.
Seriously.
Ontario, I know.
How dare you?
Rude. It's rude.
So
my name's Scott. Yeah. That's about it. That's all you need to know.
So Scott, thanks Scott. That's all we needed to know. No, if you could tell us give us a little bit of history about yourself as a streamer's perspective. Sure. I know a little bit because I think we happened to find each other within the first couple weeks of each other both starting to stream. I don't remember how that happened. It was weird. I still have my old name, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Team McRunfast.
Team McRunfast.
McRunfast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you were the first person who recognized its origin from Mystery Science Theater, actually. So.
Oh yeah. No, and I'm watching riff tracks on Twitch all the time.
Oh yeah.
You know, if a friend isn't on, and I follow a lot of people, but if a friend isn't on, then I'll check what's on riff tracks and play a game with that in the background. And Slay the Spire is a perfect game to have something like that in the background with.
Perfect.
But yeah, so I started probably up in January, February of 2018 this year. And I actually got my start on Twitch trying to figure out how to play PUBG. And I'm sure that was how so many people. I know. Ontario, I deserve it. I deserve.
No, I
deserve those eye rolls.
I understand.
Okay, but I mean, I'm not any good at it. Now, there's been a couple of times where I was on a stream where I crushed, but something happened to those VODs, and there's no evidence of it.
Oh.
But I have. There's witness testimony that I've done well at that game at one point in the past. But I was and so it was actually a buddy of mine that I played PUBG with who wrangled me into play. And I was like, I got to get better at this game. Do you have any suggestions? And he goes, well, do you watch streams? I'm like, I've never watched a stream. So he goes, oh, you've never even seen Dr. Disrespect? And I'm like, I don't even know who that is. And he goes, okay, all right. So I was totally entertained by the Doctor for quite some time. And he, my buddy, Josh, who is Faint, Phaent on Twitch, who doesn't stream very much anymore because he's just got a brand new girlfriend. He really convinced me from my broadcasting background to not only stream PUBG, which I did for a little bit, but I love indie games and I have a fairly large game library, to just do variety gaming and talk about why I like the games and try to kind of cut it up. And I've got a little bit of background in some comedy that I do, and I love improv. So between loving games, loving to talk, and broadcasting and improv, this just seemed like a real natural, fun extension of the gaming hobby. And even though I love streaming, I really like being on your stream and other friends' streams just as much, and participating with them, or having that be again something on the background with a game that I can do two things at once. And it's really expanded. Not only has it been a place where I can watch the new Jurassic Park game, Rise and Fall, or Conan.
Oh,
Rise
Conan.
and Fall.
How fast was that? Oh my gosh, it was like 2
Lightning
days.
fast.
So it was wicked fast.
Or I own No Man's Sky, but now that the last patch everyone started playing again, do I want to reinstall it even? Just that we have now this little layer of exposure to gaming that I never had before, which led me to pre-order No Man's Sky back whenever I shouldn't. And so we kind of have this insulation, because we have all these other streamers and friends of ours who are playing games and interacting on a much more dynamic, personal level. So people can actually recommend games to you much better than, a GameFly or anything like that. Ever no one knows you or that you would like the game in any kind of format. Now, that whole system of recommending games and community that is my true start in IT, where I worked for Blockbuster corporate office in Dallas, Texas. I know. Let's go ahead and laugh now.
There you go.
Let's I didn't do it, okay? I didn't drop the table. It wasn't me. I was screaming. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. I left before the end times came. I saw the writing on the wall. They were reinvesting in real estate while we're Netflix and Redbox are right behind. They're in front of us now. Please. No, they didn't listen to us, but I left them, and then I still always kind of dabbled in data and IT, and I still do. That's my main job, is in data. But it was my experience at Blockbuster and just the intelligence of finding out what other people, our members on our website when I worked for Blockbuster.com, what they would be interested in. that always fascinated me, and that concept of there's an infinite amount of things that you could consume with your time. So what is actually going to maximize that choice? What is going to be the best way to help you curate the massive amount of media? It turns out that, computers can do an okay job with that with film, and as we know, with like Netflix feels like it knows me type, that kind of vibe. But nothing actually beats joining someone in the middle of their experience and it being a part of it, so that you can have this, incarnational session with them. And that makes you, that, in my opinion, brings me back to passing the controller with your older. So the cool thing about it is that, like, if you're playing Slay the Spire, then I probably would play something else like Gungeon, or something else that your audio isn't going to be like affecting my gameplay. I'm not going to be confused by that. So I'm actually experiencing a more variety of gaming with that going on. I know some people who are like watching multiple streams at once and I can't do that. But I can.
It's like an advanced version of the old split screen co-op back in the day. It's like now you can play just a bunch of different games while you're watching a bunch of other people play a bunch of different other games.
Yes,
it's crazy compared to what it used. Where you're sitting there and you have this much screen to play whatever you're playing.
Yeah. But it's not only saved me money because I get to have everybody else play Flash in the Pan game, especially the MMOs, where, man, if those go Flash in the Pan, then like you're just out $60, $70 or whatever. So like I definitely like using that, and for you and I knew what a roguelike was, and I owned Rogue Legacy and I played it a little bit, but then I was able to like go through my library again and realize that I was always gravitating towards roguelikes or other things like that. And like the Golden Crown Hotel, like super indie game that I started streaming when really when I first started, that was a pixel indie game roguelike that I still love. I don't stream it at all much, but I'm tempted to. I didn't have any viewers then, and like when you're playing a super indie game with no viewers and no followers, that's a little bit rough. So maybe in the short term, I might break it back out.
Yeah,
but
give it a try, yeah.
But I learned about a ton of awesome new games, and just that I did find myself gravitating towards other categories and types of games in general too. And as much as I still kind of like PUBG, I like watching it and the community much more than playing it. And so it's kind of changed my relationship with other games in that way too, where I don't really ever have a desire to play a lot of shooters much anymore, because I can still get that same experience while goofing on a streamer.
Right.
And that's just as fun. And usually they're much better than me anyway.
Well, for me, it's a lot more fun to make fun of someone who just gets totally wrecked by somebody else than to be that guy who's getting wrecked, because that would be me.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm with you there.
There's other games that I want to stream that are kind of like either there's a game I play on my phone that's basically a version of Diplomacy. I don't know if you played that board game where it's a lot of backstabbing and bluffing, and you're creating alliances. And there's a game I own that's an implementation of a GMT board game called Twilight Struggle. And with games like that, and another game that came out recently, Deceit, where you could get away with it as long as the people that you're playing with don't know that you're streaming it, or else it would completely ruin the game if they watched just a second of your stream, because they could see your poker hand or what have you.
It's like Town of Salem. Like if you decided to stream that could go really poorly for you. Yeah,
there's some games that are kind of unstreamable, which I kind of find interesting. But for the most part, my favorite games these days, I almost like see them and I say to myself, "Oh, that would be a really fun game to stream." Or the great thing that Dead Cells is doing with their Twitch integration, and the way that they've really made speedrunning a mechanic in their game, which is really cool. And I don't know how much of it you've actually played, Skip. I don't think a lot.
I haven't played a ton of it. It's funny. I haven't played a ton of it, but I'm in the speedrunning, like the Dead Cells speedrunning Discord community, so I chat with them. I haven't played it much. I don't speedrun it.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's really cool.
It's genius how that speedrunning's a mechanic with that game, and I've really been impressed with that game. And it's now out, I think.
Yeah, it exited early access a month or so ago.
That's cool.
Yeah, that one will make it on the list very soon, I'm sure.
Yeah. Sorry, what did you say? Something, Ontario? My bad.
No, you're good.
So yeah, I'm kind of finding my groove now. Kind of games that I like to play, and what I want to watch, and what I want to stream, and all that balance. I think Slay the Spire, Gungeon, which you told me about, and now with the latest patch of Gungeon, been out 3 weeks, 4 weeks,
something like that. Yeah.
The last episode,
so
it was out about the last episodes.
What do you mean the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons when that dropped? You mean?
Yes.
Yeah, about a month. Yeah, which has been a blast. I've loved
so
that
much
patch.
Fun.
Oh yeah.
So much fun.
I mean, if for no other reason than the fact that I don't have to dodge roll, just I can walk faster now when I'm not in combat. Like, to me, that's the best thing ever now.
That's everyone's favorite feature. You just dodge roll everywhere. It's still fun.
But it's slower to dodge roll everywhere. And the best thing is when you walk into a room and there's a line of seven tables just lined up, just sliding down the whole table. Like, that's the best thing. Like
the table sliding is my favorite.
Yeah.
Just the fun of that. And that game is always fun to play. You might rage out a little bit with, like, my hitbox should not be that big. But after that, it is in that game for sure.
And you start getting the RNG going for you, and it's the difference between dying at the first boss because something wasn't going right for you to make it into the dragon. Like, I literally had those runs back to back. The last time I played was. Sure. I messed something up on the first boss and just died, and then next I was at the dragon. So I'm like, all right. Yeah,
but I get Planet Gun or something like that. I feel a little dirty about how easy it gets.
Yeah.
But kind of like you and the figuring out the relic with the Shiv deck and getting all the cards back. I forget the name of the card that lets you do that.
The madness. It was pretty crazy.
That feels like you earn it a little bit more than just opening up a chest and they're finding an amazing gun. But at the same time, you balance that out with, well, I've done this game enough. I earn this.
Yeah,
I earn
this.
Just
die immediately, so it doesn't matter. Like, this is mine.
Yes.
Or when you get the duct tape and you go, ooh, what two things need to be put together? And that's the evil genius
the most
part.
Powerful thing ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't even realize that. I probably played 2 times with duct tape, not even knowing what it did. Until I finally had the curiosity to look it up.
Kind of
what?
Yeah. It's so amazing.
It did.
It's kind of a hard one when you get it at first, because then you use it on the wrong gun.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Automatically will.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because you're so anxious to use it, but then you just go, what do I have? Well, I have my starter gun and a shotgun. I guess those can go together. It's like, no.
That works.
No.
I think also the other thing about coming from it, because coming from Binding of Isaac, which I think that is what the game I clocked in 400, 500 hours before I even started streaming, and absolutely love that game. Whenever I ran into any item I never saw before, I instantly open up Google, right? And you do that a little bit with Gungeon, but it kind of has a little bit of a cutier, the ammonicron.
The ammonicron. Not ammonia. The ammunition, the ammonicon, whatever it is, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It kind of scratches that itch a little bit for you. And most of the spoilers are things that just kind of naturally happen in the progress of the game, like not shooting that caped gun, bullet, and whatnot. And right now, I did have to look up like how to find that dude's arm in the shopkeep. So like that's kind of where I'm at now. I've beaten each one of the paths of the 4 main characters, and that kind of gave me a little bit of a respite, before I try again with the robot and things like that. It has some real nice. The game has a great flow to it, And so I'm kind of taking that break now before I started up with Slay the Spire, and I can't get out of Ascension 4.
I think I'm on. I think I'm on 3. I think. Yeah,
I feel pathetic. I see all these guys who I know I'm better at the nuts and bolts game with online, who just play it constantly, and so they've run into some amazing RNG.
They get the mad RNG layouts where it doesn't matter the strategy; they're going to win every time. Yeah, it's.
Well, and then there's those people. There's some people that are computers. You know, the way Shroud is with shooters. These guys are with processing the math super quick and never make a mistake. And I watch a few people online who play Slay almost exclusively. To a lot of people watching, it's pretty cool that game is still maintained, like you guys said earlier. There's a really great audience.
When there's always some really big time streamers playing it too. I try to you know, every time I go in there, it's like, oh wow, there's someone with 400 people watching. That's crazy, you know, for this little indie
Dolphin
game.
Chemist and yeah,
it's really cool.
There's a lot of people. It's a fun game, and it's great because I do have a big background. Before I was streaming and playing video games almost every day, I was getting ready for, and I had video games kind of in the background there for a little bit, where I just played Binding and a few other things. But it was really board games and card games that my poker group turned into, like, okay, we can, after you played poker a few months in a row with people, you're like, okay, you guys are the good guys that are gonna have all or chips or whatever, and the rest of the people kind of want to play a different game. So it just turned into a board game / D&D or Gloomhaven or some other game that we've been playing, and we've been doing that for years and years and years. So I kind of come from this physical component card and dice mentality anyway, that the video games, these board games have been inspired by video games, and now the new video games are inspired by the board games that were inspired by video games. So that's what I really think Slay is a reflection on Dominion and Thunderstone, which came about from the fast-paced nature of a lot of video games. But it's just it's so nice and clean, and it's a really simple ain't easy. You know, you ask anybody who work at Google, simple ain't easy.
Yep.
And I think Slay is quality, quality while also simple. Now, it's shocking to me. I think what they will do, especially after hopefully being inspired by Dead Cell's new Twitch integration with Slay would be huge. And I think people have already developed some mods for, I know there's those great big streamers that have a audience vote on the card thing. I know that's a huge, easy thing for them to do.
Right.
But if it's actually integrated into the game,
and more games have been doing that. I mean, it's not. There's examples on how to do it, so it's not like you're having to reinvent the wheel to figure that out anymore. So I would love to see something like that. You know.
Yes. It'll make it very fun. Choosing the paths. Choosing the cards. I mean, it would be even fun to have, like, when Smoke Bomb. I'm not sure if you play with that potion Smoke Bomb. You can leave any battle. I mean, and there's quite a bit of Twitch integration trolling, you know, like, especially if I watched a couple of Dead Cells where people can just too easily tap that health when they don't need it or don't want it. And that's fun. It's fun doing that against good players, where you have this antagonistic relationship with your streaming audience, or people who are great anyway. You know, this is just another handicap on them or whatever. So that's going to be fun to see. It's going to be fun to see the next tier of content and mechanics from Slay. And
that's always something I wanted to see in Enter the Gungeon. Just an antagonistic Twitch integration system where it gets screwed over by chat. Yeah, that would be hilarious.
Yes,
it's already hard enough. Let's just make it work.
Yeah. Or like the I was actually watching speedrunning today. There was the Mario 3 with bit integration, where it's based upon bits going during there. It actually, you know, you give Mario the frog suit, like, just override stuff to make it completely insane. Like stuff like that, where it's like, yeah, if you want to totally screw me over and have the Lord of the Jam show up, yeah, it's 20 bits, man.
Do you guys know if there's ever any plan for a Gungeon daily?
Oh, I would love it. I mean, the hard part is
that would blow my mind.
I mean,
The game needs it so bad in my
yeah. I mean, the difficult part there being is that with the daily, you have to have stuff so pre-programmed that I know, Isaac does it, but it's a level of commitment from the developers to have something that's going to lock down a seed, because they don't really have the concept of seeds, I don't think, with how they develop the game. So it's not like they could say this seed, versus Binding of Isaac, everything that you play is a seed. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. No. And with Gungeon, it's how well you do in a room reflects your room loot, but they could still have the layouts. You would think they could just clone. They could do one run of a seed to see if it's worthy of cloning, and then you would think that if someone gets hit, they're not going to get that same room loot. But the chests would all be the same. What's in the chests could all be the same. The bosses, just something to give it more interaction between us. Because what's the program that you can do the couch co-ops across the net? I haven't tried it yet.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was actually just looking at that today. They're basically like cloud-based gaming type of stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you sent me that article. I read most of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's a number of them that have been looking at it. Not a lot have been doing so well with it because, I mean, that's the reason why there's no online to begin with. If you have any type of input lag impacting your game, it really nerfs your game, and that's the reason why for Gungeon they never did that, because they said, hey, we wouldn't want this to reflect on our game if there's an input lag.
Right. And Binding's never had. They have their local co-ops. Same with Gungeon.
Yep.
But they just can't. They can't get behind.
I mean, even
non-modded
a couple frames and you're done, and that's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, you could easily get hit by doing nothing, or you're doing something else. It's all about timing. It's like impossible to do Necrodancer. Across of a connection. Wait, and Gungeon might as well be a rhythm game.
It's the same. It's not rhythm to music, but you have how you move. It's a lot of times frame perfect. I mean, it's pretty close.
Yeah. And that's one of the crazy things I think that Slay has an advantage on. That if they did develop a multiplayer, something where and there's a guy I watch during the day, and he's not family friendly, but he is really funny, and it's the CEO. And he plays Slay every day, and I actually found him playing Slay. He also does PUBG and a few other great games, but he's had such great brainstorming sessions about how you could make Slay the Spire a multiplayer game. How you could, if you win, you could throw basically junk or more baddies on the other guy who's on the other side of the spire trying to go up.
It's almost like a two-player Tetris or Puzzle Fighter, like where what you do impacts them.
Yes, and whether or not you're actually in the battle at the same time may not matter. Like it would be kind of like a Civ multi, where you're both in your turns, and when someone's wrapping up, you kind of would wrap up your battles around the same time, and if you don't, you're just waiting on the next person just for a little bit to get done with their battle. But there could be a lot of ways to do it so that your choices are affecting someone else. Like if you want to screw over someone, but you're still going to take a little bit of damage, and it's just a race to the end of the spire. This primary goal might be to slay the spire, but like all these great players are now, that's easier for them. We're on a regular ascension level, that's way easy. This might be fun to have one more thing where you have someone who's less concerned about slaying the spire and more concerned about screwing you over. That would be a fun tension, again, another fun balancing tension that I look for in my games. So there's quite a bit of ideas that Slay could get into, and I'm also excited about the next round of generation of games that are going to be, I think, directly inspired by Slay the Spire. Inspired by Slay the Spire. Yeah. Inspired.
Inspired.
Inspired Spire.
Right.
I think that card games. You guys mentioned Hearthstone, the Magic Online. There was a huge Magic tournament here just in town in Fort Worth, Texas, this weekend, and it's not going away. It's just evolving, and I think people are like, "Oh, what's going on?" Hearthstone's regularly top 5 on Twitch for people wanting to watch. Yeah, and that's not just when the new cards come out. That's and I even though I played a little bit of World of Warcraft before Hearthstone, I gotta say I've been with Hearthstone right when it came out. I've never left because of the quest system has made it so that I'm always checking in at night or over the weekend or something. So I've always been generating gold. I've never spent a dime on the game, but I've got over 8,000 dust just from the grind of doing quests, doing daily quests. And I try to never make sure I lose a quest. So I'm just always kind of doing a quest. It's the only game I ever play on my iPhone. So for commuting or anything like that, it's always been the go-to game. And I like the experience of Slay even more. And especially since I can being fully in control and take a break and pause it and leave the game and be right back where I'm at. And I like a solo experience a lot too. Now, when Slay makes the port over to iPhone, that's it. That might
oh man,
Hearthstone in trouble.
Mobile Slay might be. I mean, there's no reason why it couldn't, but that would be. I mean, ultimate travel game. Ultimate travel game. I mean, yeah. I mean, airplane game. Forget about it. That's perfect.
Yeah, because you don't need to be hooked on. You don't need to be on the internet, right?
Yeah. Just casually play in. And got an interruption. No big deal. Yeah.
Perfect airplane game. Amazing airplane game. Because I on an airplane, I've taken out my laptop and played Slay. So if it was just on my phone or iPad, forget it.
Yeah, that would work really well. Cool. Yeah. Well, hey, I wanted to one last thing I know for today is actually you brought it up a little bit before. Article. There's actually a lot of stuff that's been going around. I've seen this types of stuff talked about for lots of times, and it's the whole idea of cloud gaming. So the concept being, if you haven't heard, it's have a massive computer center somewhere that's running the top of the line compute, graphics cards, etc., and all they're pumping down to you for consumption is basically the video feed. Then you're doing your inputs and sending them back up. So there's a lot. Right. You don't need to have a gaming computer. In fact, you could run it on your phone. You could run it on a Chromebook. You could basically use anything for input and rely upon these massive centers, wherever they're located, to run the games. And we kind of talked about the main question being for, especially think of games like Enter the Gungeon. If I'm going to have, anything over 10 milliseconds of ping, that's not going to work. But stuff's getting bigger and better and faster to the point where that lag for most games would be not noticeable. Think of most first-person shooters. Think of, the MOBAs and the whatever the heck, the Royale games. Having even 30 seconds, 30 seconds of lags, no big deal. A 30 millisecond ping, not you're gonna notice it a little bit, but it's not gonna really impact your gameplay too much.
You can adjust for it. You hope. Yeah. And the idea is the technology will make it negligible down the road. It's inevitable eventually, you hope, but because our infrastructure is strong enough, it should be able to make it so that we may not notice the difference. And when that happens, I mean, the people who are then just buying the hardware that we've been spending all of our money on, hopefully, are going to pump it into these huge farms that make their money back because we're all renting.
I mean,
we're all renting access.
And this is the evolution that everything has gone through, from power, everyone having a generator to centrally controlled, to, think about last time you bought an album for music. I mean, to basically you're leasing the access to it. Is that the way that we're going with gaming? And will there be, let's say 3 years from now, is a question going to be, which gaming farm am I going to subscribe to? I mean, is that where we're going?
It's a huge target on casual gamers, because if someone can pick up this little thing that they have in their pocket 24/7, and they can connect and they can play Fortnite with their friends on this, it's over. Like, that's gonna take over completely, because then you don't need to spend way too much money on this setup.
On everything we spent way too much money on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think this is starting to scare maybe the companies who would find themselves in the blockbuster position? Like, does this scare I don't know, like iBuyPower, like the people making the computers themselves, the gaming rigs? Does this scare developers at all?
Does it scare Alienware?
Alienware. Well, does it scare Dell? No, they're going to be fine.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, but who does this?
Alienware's marketing, they could change it to be something else, and they would probably it would behoove them to have their own Alienware, like Nvidia is talking about, the Nvidia cloud gaming service might be leading the way, but just for the marketing brand of, hey, the most elite gamer isn't gonna be on a console. They're gonna be able to extend for the next couple of years. If cloud gaming takes off, they'll still probably have a right to say the most, until it's fully fleshed out and developed, that if you're a serious gamer, that you're probably gonna want to have it local, especially if you're streaming. That's gonna be another thing. I mean, I just now got fiber, but that I don't know. Maybe streaming isn't gonna be a big deal at all, since it's almost all upload. But you're gonna need to have input on the upload.
I mean, it's made me start to think. I mean, even consoles, like, there will be a point if this does start take off and going the right direction. There'll be a point at which the console that you buy is basically sort of like a soft client for the old IT days, where your console is just your way that you are consuming the like Nintendo gaming cloud, and the only way to get to it is to buy the new Nintendo console. But that the compute power is all in their Nintendo gaming cloud, which is far superior to what you could buy for the $150 you spent for the new Nintendo gaming console. I mean,
it's going to be some little box that you got that just accesses that, and that's going to be less about, how much
what's
power
in the box.
New PS5 have, or the new Xbox, whatever they're going to name that, So it's going to become less about hardware and more about, I got to go buy a box that lets me ping to their server farm up there with all the games on it. That's all it's going to turn into. Is it's not going to be a hardware race, it's going to be a server race.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a server race. It's going to be a paywall authentication race. It's going to be just really however they can structure it to probably not to still be making more money. We have to kind of anticipate those choices and adjust accordingly. I'm probably not going to be, because after reading that article, I'm not going to be buying a new graphics card for a while. I'm just going to want to see where it goes a little bit. Not that I'm in the market for
2080, or
I'm not buying a 2080. I need to send my kid to college. Kids now. I gotta start saying kids. But I'm still wanting a Switch, and that's not going to slow me down from saving up money to buy a Switch. So
I mean, I think we're still a couple years away from this being a true sustainable reality. And there's a part of me that goes, what are we going to give up by it? But there's the other part of me that's actually really excited. Like, I think about this week, I'm going to be traveling all week. And my options right now, if I want a game on the road, is, have a tablet with some tablet games, bring a Vita with me, go dig my 3DS. I don't know where the thing is, or bring a gaming laptop with me. Those are my options, and I don't want to bring a gaming laptop with me on the road. That's too heavy. It's too much. But if I could take my Chromebook or something with me, or even my work laptop, and have that be able to access the same games that I have here at home, that'd be amazing. I'd love to be able to play Enter the Gungeon on a work laptop that can't handle those graphics. Not that it's graphic intense, but my work laptop probably couldn't handle it.
You got to also think about the technology. We can save and revert really easily, because a lot of it might be virtualized or not. But the concept that if it's truly going to be very mobile, you're in the middle of a Gungeon game, and Gungeon has the red button that you can save when you are at the end of the elevator, but you should be able to freeze with the cloud. And if these are virtualized machines and everything, I don't know. The games may not want you to do that, but there's going to be all sorts of. It's going to be one other layer too for us, to hacksorize the whole. It's one more staging location for either cheaters, hackers, ways that you just want to have fun. The possibilities are going to be endless down the road.
It'll be interesting to see what happens too for indie developers, because those are some like with music that actually a lot of indie artists got hurt pretty bad when basically like they're not able to get noticed or not able to get paid because the amount that you get on streaming as a smaller artist off of Spotify or Apple Music or Google Music is a lot less than you would have made on your album sales. So a big concern of mine though with it, as I'm thinking about it more, is making sure we don't lose out on the indie games like Slay the Spire. I wouldn't want to have an environment where two developers couldn't get together because the prospects of, well, we'd have to sell it to the three main server farms and they're going to pay us $20 is all we're going to net. It's not worth it. So they'd never start down that path.
So I didn't think it would work. I thought you still have to. I got the picture from the article, at least, that you still have to buy the game.
Maybe
you're not like you're not just renting.
Well, I mean,
we're getting a cluster game. I guess it'd be easier to do those things.
It could end up being both. I mean, right now PlayStation has their service where you're basically can play any of their games. It's sort of a different model, but it's a terrible model. It doesn't work well, but that's what they're trying to do. So I would imagine that a streaming sort of or license-based system might start to come into fruition. I don't know, but yeah, you're right. It could still be you still have to buy the license to the game. Yeah.
It's like some like Origin Game Pass where it's like, here's this vault of games that you can have access to if you pay us a subscription fee for however long. And I think that's probably the way it's going to go because everything's a subscription now. Like you can get food sent to your house on a subscription,
right?
If you really like. Like you can do almost anything on a subscription base, and that's where everything is kind of pushing towards. So I'm assuming there was a subscription.
Yeah, and you're right. It could go either way, though. You're absolutely right. Yeah, but
and the ideal thing would be that you would have like a GOG and Steam that would be competing for not only packages for signing up, where you're getting X number of games, or like almost like Twitch rewards, where it's a rotating library of awesome games, and you're also able to tack on the ability to play, any of the games that you have available to download locally into your virtual cloud, or not, it's not virtual, but into the cloud hardware that's running everything super fast. You can have all of your games can run fine, as well as whatever's going to be on that preloaded server.
Right.
They'll be able to do what they want, and hopefully fans of indie gaming need to maybe speak up and be even more mobilized and get organized in their communities and everything to say, no matter what happens, I'm gonna want to be there to find, the next, the next Fez, or, just be
Stardew Valley.
Stardew Valley. I want that to have mobility for success, be able to be discovered, and for those developers to achieve the success that they deserve.
Right.
So,
well, cool, guys.
You would think that would still be a possible thing, and that these guys want
I hope
just
so.
good games.
I hope so. Yeah.
To push it, because once we're hooked, that's the idea. Once we're hooked, if this is superior technology and freeing us up to enjoy our games we like more, then we're not gonna lose any subs. Once we dive into it and they've got their achievement system, and just like anything else we've built up with Steam, like if we think that if that's a superior way of the cloud gaming, we're gonna be hooked once we find something we like.
Absolutely.
And just like Blizzard's hooked their fan base and everything else, and now it's like, okay, well, I guess no matter what, I'm think of a Blizzard.net loading app, which would be so fun to have to skip over, or have that be a preloaded thing in the.
It's just
Blizzard
there.
Server. Yeah. That you don't need any of that. And the other fun thing is, arguably, PUBG is ruined by cheaters and desyncers and stuff like that. So the idea that there might be preference for everyone to be using the server that we know is clean.
Yeah,
That would be, of course, that's where tournaments are going to be, but it might be, that could be the thing that makes people say, all right, well, now if I want to actually play competitively.
Yeah. Hey, if you want to do ranked, you have to be in our ranked. If you have to be in our servers.
Yeah, I mean, I think gamers might demand that if the performance is unidentifiably the same.
Well, it's a way that also the individual companies, the large companies who like, think of, oh gosh, what's the big esports league, the Overwatch League?
ESL.
Yeah,
thinking of Overwatch League maybe, like, for them to say,
Dota
hey, you want to be ranked and you want to get, in order to be in the Overwatch League ranked systems and be eligible for all the big tournaments, you have to be in our servers. You have to pay our fee. You have to be running it off of there. I mean, it'll be a way that they can soon monetize yet another aspect of the game. Yep. Really.
Yeah.
So, it's...
And with subscription services, we as gamers, we love our bells and whistles, but we're not really prone to love subscription services because we like the independence of our PCs so much more than other things, and we like our control. But this could be the thing that might save gaming from the threat of the music torrent.
That's true.
The freeness of music. Music had to survive that huge disruptive technology. Gaming has been able to work for a number of reasons, just it being bigger files and whatnot. But we're also super passionate about our games, and if it's delivering the features that we want, if it can pretty much eliminate, for some games, just the notion that the people you're playing against, it's impossible for them to cheat. That would be so refreshing.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a revolution in and of itself. I didn't even think about that until this conversation.
Yeah, I agree. That'd be really cool. Well, guys, this has been a great conversation. We're running probably a little bit longer than we normally do, but I think it's been great.
A little long.
A little bit
I'm
longer.
so sorry.
But it's okay. It's okay. I'll cut out all the parts that you talk. It's okay. No worries.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
that's exactly what you should do.
Gotta leave the Greyhound bird in.
Yeah, right, exactly. Gotta leave the squeaking in. Scott, I appreciate you stopping by.
Oh man, thank you so much.
Yeah,
I really appreciate talking to you guys.
Absolutely. So, before we go, I do want to talk about what's going to be happening next time, because we're going to be going through a little bit of a shift, which will be interesting to see. We've actually got it. It'll have been announced by the time you're watching this, but we have a new RogueHQ owner who is joining on board. So I don't know if you guys remember from the last episode. Well, I know Ontario, I know you remember. You were here. Gambino, or otherwise known as Gambino Plays, is going to be coming on board as a new RogueHQ owner, or he is actually already on board, so welcome. He has actually agreed to help co-host this show, which is awesome. So what's going to be happening is he's actually going to take my seat here in the talking spot, which will allow me to actually step back and do more of the actual directing, producing of this stuff, so that we'll have a little bit, hopefully, more direction and control. And
I'll be writing the script in the background, and then that's what we have to say.
Yeah, I'll be holding up cue cards.
Cue cards,
and just dropping them. But no, it's pretty exciting. He's a great guy. I'm very excited to have him on board with us. That said, we're going to be working on getting those recordings started up and going, so we don't really have what games or what people we're doing next. But hopefully by the time we air this, we'll have a little bit better of idea, and we'll be typing it in the chat furiously. Right about now, we should be typing something saying what's up next.
I'm sure we'll drop it in the Discord as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Sweet.
So that'll be really cool. Looking forward to that. As much as I like talking, I really enjoy kind of putting together a good show, and I think Ontario, you and Gambino will make a good on-air team, and I think between the three of us, we'll be able to make this even better, even more awesome and professional and everything. So will be fun. But yeah. So thanks, Scott. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you, guys.
And I look forward to watching this air. Hopefully hopefully later this week. I don't know. We got to figure out when we're going to air it now.
Yeah, maybe we should decide that.
Maybe we should decide that soon. Anyways, we'll talk to you guys later, and have a good one. Bye, everybody. Thanks for stopping by.